What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV, and in this video, I'm going to talk about Trae Young of the Atlanta Hawks. This is my first video talking about Trae Young, and Trae Young has had a great season, man, but as of late, he's really stepped it up with his overall play. I guess especially his aggressiveness on the offensive end, which of course leads to him putting up some awesome offensive numbers in the last, I think, 3 or 4 games for Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Hawks are a team that, collectively are not very good. But individually, Trae Young has been a bright spot, and he's one of the top rookies. Now, the Rookie of the Year consensus candidate seems to be Luka Doncic of the Dallas Mavericks, okay? But that is not to say that Trae Young has not been great this year. As a matter of fact, I remember back in December or so, Trae Young was averaging I could have swore his average was something like 15.8 points or 15.9 points or something like that. And I looked just now, his scoring average is up to 18.3. So that really shows that in the last month, he's really stepped it up offensively. And last night was a historic performance by him and the two teams competing, who actually will play again tomorrow, the Atlanta Hawks and the Chicago Bulls. Now, most people don't even want to talk about these two teams because of the fact that they're cellar dwellers. But they had a historic game last night. Of course, when you take into account that both teams are not very good defensively, and you take the rule changes and the freedom of movement rule that was instituted before the season started, that just spells high-scoring 1980s action, and that's what you got. Last night, the Chicago Bulls beat the Atlanta Hawks by the final count of 168-161 in a 4-overtime game. It's the third highest scoring game in the history of the NBA. Only 2 games during the regular season and playoffs had higher scoring cumulative totals, and that was the highest scoring game, between the Detroit Pistons and the Denver Nuggets back in 1983. I think it was the 83-84 season. I know in that game the final score was 186-184, and I believe Isaiah Thomas had a career high 47 points in that game, and I think Alex English had 51. I think. And the second highest scoring game was a game between the San Antonio Spurs and the Milwaukee Bucks in 1982, that the Spurs won 171-166. These scores are ridiculous. But last night, it was a lot of history being made. The Chicago Bulls set a record for most points scored in a game. If I'm not mistaken, the prior record was 155, and I believe that was done during the 1990-91 season by the Chicago Bulls, and I believe that was a game that they beat the Phoenix Suns. I can't remember the Suns total, but I remember the Bulls won that game, and they scored 155 points. And if I remember correctly, Pippen and Jordan both scored over 30 points in that game, as you could expect. But Zach LaVine had an awesome game, too. Zach LaVine scored 47 points. I think he had 9 rebounds, 9 assists. But you're going to expect that in a game with that many points scored. You're going to have some big, totals. But Zach LaVine, despite the fact that he faded a little bit down the stretch of the game, was awesome. He had 49 points, a career high. I think that's like the 3rd straight game or something of that matter where he's set a career high. I think his prior career high was 36 points or something like that. But he had 49 points. Let me look at something. I'm trying to see his totals. I think he has 49 points. Yeah, he had 8 rebounds, 16 assists, shot the ball well, shot 50%, 17 of 33 from the floor, 6 of 13 from 3-point range. And but like I said, he tired down the stretch of this game, and he did have a career high 9 turnovers. Over the last 5 games, Trae Young is averaging 34.8 points and 10.4 assists per game. I believe he's the first rookie since Allen Iverson back in the 1996-97 season to have 3 consecutive games scoring over 35 points. It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Since Iverson? And of course, there's the comparisons. I've seen some people compare him to Steph Curry. I don't think that he's the shooter that Curry is. And I think that's unfair on Trae Young to make any comparisons to any player. When you think about it, most great players create their own niche. There's no other Mike. There's no other AI. There's no other Zeke, Isaiah Thomas. There's no other Stephen Curry. There's no other Barkley. There's no other Karl Malone. There's no other Shaq. There's no other Wilt. There's no other Bill. There's no other Oscar Robertson. There's no George Gervin, Pete Maravich, Walt Bellamy, Bob Pettit, George Mikan, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing. You know, you get my point. Trae Young is going to be Trae Young if he's going to be great. He's going to create his own niche, his own legacy. Okay. Just looking at some of the things that have, trying to look at some other records. I'm a big trivia guy, you know. All right. From Yahoo Sports, NBA, 4 rookies in the last 40 years have scored 30-plus points in 3 consecutive games. All right. Michael Jordan, David Robinson, Allen Iverson, like I said earlier, and Trae Young. He was the first one since Allen Iverson to do that. And before them, David Robinson, that would have been I believe the 89-90 season, and Michael Jordan in the 84-85 season. All right. From Justin Kabatko, Trae Young is just the 4th rookie since the ABA-NBA merger to score 35 or more points in at least 3 straight games. The others are Bernard King, Michael Jordan, and Allen Iverson. From Tommy Beer on Twitter, end of the first overtime, Trae Young now has 45 points, 12 assists, and 5 rebounds. Per Basketball Reference, he's just the 4th rookie in NBA history with at least 40 points, 10 assists, and 5 rebounds in a game. The other 3 players in this exclusive club are Oscar Robertson, Michael Jordan, and LeBron. Somebody with Yahoo Sports, Trae Young, the Rookie of the Year isn't Luka's just yet. Well, no, it's not. But I mean, while Trae Young has been doing this for a stretch, Luka has been more consistent. Luka's been doing this for practically the whole season. And, you know, I don't believe that you should just award somebody something that they've been doing for a stretch of a week or a week and a half, as opposed to what somebody's been doing since they've been tipping it off, since they tipped off the very end of October or November or beginning of November, whenever the season started. No, it was middle of October, I think now. But Luka has been doing this all year. Trae Young has been balling, you know what I'm saying? Especially last month of the season. Let me see what he's been doing, because I know at one point his scoring average was like 15.8. That number's in my head. So he has to really be putting up some big numbers in the last month. I wouldn't be surprised if he's averaging at least 25 points in the last month or so. Let me see. Usually I'm pretty close with those types of estimations. Let me see. Let me go back to February the 1st. Yeah, so in the last month, Trae Young's been shooting 42% from the floor, 44% from three-point range, 84% from the foul line, averaging 4.5 rebounds, 9.8 assists, 25.3 points. Man, I told you, man, I'm a statistical fucking beast. Yeah, he's really been balling in the last month, man. But one thing that hurt him, despite the fact that Luka's been doing it the whole year, is the fact that Atlanta Hawks are only 21-42 on the year, man. And usually a Rookie of the Year candidate has to at least show that his overall play is having a profound impact on a team's overall success. Now, that's not to say that what Trae Young is, what he's doing isn't having an effect, but, you know, generally speaking, the Rookie of the Year has to be absolutely sensational to offset team, you know, the team not performing all that well. I think Allen Iverson, let me see. The Sixers, I don't believe, had a really good record his rookie year. But in comparison to what they did the year before, I think it was an improvement. Let me see. That team when Stackhouse was a rookie, yeah, they went 18-64. So they were absolutely horrible that year. Okay. The first year with Allen Iverson, they went 22-60. You know what I'm saying? But they still were horrible. But Allen Iverson was so explosive, so tremendous that he won it, you know? But tell me what you guys think about his performance last night, man, and what you think about the Rookie of the Year race so far.